Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we will talk about successful sales strategies. I'm super happy to have two guests here today. First, Antoine from our partner Qonto, who is responsible for the growth in Germany, and Tino, who is the managing director and co-founder of Accountable, who already founded successful two other startups and will share his insights with us. Before we dive into the topic, I will shortly give you an introduction of myself and Uplink, and we will solve some technical issues. And after that, we will dive into the topic. So in the first part, the first 30 minutes, we will talk about insights about sales strategies and already collected some questions from our community. While we are talking about the topics, you have the possibility to ask your questions. Therefore, you can use the Ask a Question poll down in the toolbar. I'm working as Uplink as a business development manager, and besides some other tasks, I'm organizing webinars and other events with our partners. Uplink, for those who don't know us yet, we are a network of IT freelancers, and we offer events, meetups, and exciting projects in the fields of IT. I will ping a link to Uplink directly in the chat below. So now I'm super happy to say the stage is yours. Maybe you, Antoine, want to start and tell us a bit more about yourself, and for those who don't know Qonto, about Qonto.
Yes, sure thing. Thank you, Nick, for the intro. First of all, very glad to be here, guys. Thank you for the invitation. I'm Antoine. I'm half Greek, half French, born in Germany, raised in Germany. Used to work for several startups, first in Berlin for Zalando. And right after came Corona, so it was difficult times for everyone, and was looking for a new adventure, and started as the first sales at Qonto in Germany, but here in the Paris office. Now we are leading, so I'm leading the sales team here in Germany. And exactly, for those who don't know Qonto, we are a business bank for SMEs. We now have 300,000 business active clients and are in 4 markets, so France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. Exactly.
Thanks. So maybe, Tino, you want to continue, give a few insights about Accountable?
Yeah, thanks for the invite. So I'm Tino. My background is in startups, really. I've founded 2 companies so far. Accountable is my third one. In the past, it was more in the media space, and since 2019, we're building with Accountable an easy app to manage your taxes as a freelancer. The vision is really do this for the entirety of Europe. We're live in Germany and in Belgium and looking at a third market. And what we basically do is we offer freelancers the opportunity to easily invoice their clients. And out of those sales invoices and the expenses they can scan, your tax declaration is easily prepared and sent to the tax office with a click. Our support team supports you with questions you might have, starting from am I Freiberufler or Gewerbetreibende, up to what can I deduct, what is a business expense. We also partner with Uplink and with Qonto. Our philosophy is bring your bank account, the best bank account you can get, choose for yourself what works for you, and then connect it to our app to make it your smart product to manage all your freelance business. That's basically what we do. So I know the business side of things. I also know freelancer pains because we talk to freelancers all the time and try to give them financial visibility on what they do. So happy to be here and answer questions and give some insights into what worked for me and what did not work.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the intro. So I think chronologically, it also makes sense maybe to start with the beginning, the early stage of the startup, or when you first started your company. What can you figure out, like, when basically was the point you first thought about a sales strategy? Often I hear from like founders or also our clients, they tend to spend a long time building on the products, making new improvements and tons of features before they actually go to the market and think about sales. What are your experiences about that? Tino, maybe you want to start.
Yeah. So if you start a sales strategy, so it's in my experience, when starting a company, and this really like goes for each company I've started. At the beginning, it's really founder-led sales. So I went out, talked to clients, understanding the pain point, and really getting an idea of what is the job to be done from our side, and I've heard it from others, and I've seen it also with other founders, bringing on like a sales pro, biz dev guy really early on, and that I've seen this being a difficult thing if you haven't found your product market fit, because I felt I always needed to really understand what the client's needs is, and get close to the selling myself. So the sales strategy really started. If I take Qonto, for example, in the beginning we said we give out packages with a tax advisor and the app as a package, and so I really talked to each freelancer, trying to understand what is it they're trying to achieve, and we've developed this into a product which is more enabling the freelancer to do it themselves, and they can, if they want, get some tax advisor support, but not as a flat rate tax advisor, which made the product more expensive. So this was also like an involvement, being very close to the end user. So
Cool. And what were your approach, Antoine? You said you were like kind of the first salesman, when I got it right, in the company.
Yes, so I'm definitely aligned with Tino. I'd say from day one. Anyway, as a founder, you're always pitching your product anytime, and this is kind of a sales, if you want. But yes, I think you should think about your sales strategy from day one. You're not expecting your first sales or your sales team to break records from day one. This is not what you're expecting. You're rather testing the market responsiveness to your product, gathering as much feedback as you can. This is also why I prefer the word business developer than salesperson for this kind of mission, because as a first sales in the company, you're kind of building everything, and you're collecting a lot of insight that's very valuable for the product team and so on. After that, you have to select a strategy, of course. If you're doing it rather inbound, outbound, it really depends on your product and your budget, of course. Typically, to give an example, for more complex SaaS, I would rather recommend outbound sales, but it really depends on your product. One more thing is also your first sales hire. There are definitely two schools here. You have the people who prefer hiring a head of sales with lots of experience, or starting with junior sales who are eager to learn, career oriented, and there are really two schools.
And especially in the beginning, when you kind of design the first sales strategy you're having, and then you're like trying to see what is coming, what are like the reactions from the market, how long-term the sales strategy is in the first time, because often it is like you can't just start and then probably adjust within like 1 or 2 months. You really need to see what's working and what's not, but you also want to be like quick enough to adjust and not doing the wrong things. Can you give us like a time horizon here?
Do you wanna?
I think it takes my experience, it always takes longer than you expect. So you have like this idea, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and in 2-3 months I'm up and running with a product that works in the market. But then you figure out, no, it doesn't really work like this, and it takes like 6 months and 12 months, and in between you think, now I've got it figured out, and then you realize only like when you hit like a certain step and you see like start like revenue rolling in, that actually you hadn't figured out when you thought you figured it out. So I think that's why I said the founder has to be really close to sales, because there's a lot of information coming from the market, and you have to like listen, build this into a process, and only if you really see like this is something, it's a repeatable process that works, that people convert to paid use at a certain stage, then you really have something where you can maybe put people on and say, here's the playbook. But it's a different type of people who figure out the playbook and people who execute the playbook. So if you get someone who executes playbook too early and they should have to figure it out, then this can result like in an unhappy situation for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say, how often, like when it comes to like organizing and talking about sales, so how often do you really adjust it? Is there like a kind of like a written playbook and then you say like, okay, now 6 or 8 months, we just see how it's going? Or is it like more an agile process where there are like monthly meetings or even every 2 weeks where you like trying to handle the response from the market and the clients?
I mean, on our side, we have like a long-term vision, of course, but we are constantly adjusting. You never know what you're facing. You have some new cultural changes, shifts or externalities coming. For example, COVID, once again. You constantly have to reforecast and be very close to your sales operations teams. And you also always have to take a step back. So basically, you always have to check your unqualified reasons, why the leads drop out at a certain point of the process, conduct close once and close loss reasons analysis, problem solvings with deal breakers, and also main levers for upselling. So basically, I would say you're constantly adjusting your sales strategy, even if you still have a guideline, of course.
Mm-hmm. And when it actually comes to like the content of a strategy, what would you say are like the essentials that never should be forgotten when you start building it? Maybe.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I can only talk about my experiences, but the way I've approached this in the past, and I think we currently do, is to have like this mindset of giving first, like trying to put out some stuff that's usable for people, put out some content that is actually not really just marketing material, but that builds trust and gives people something, a reason to say, hey, those guys, the work they do, that's sound, that's trustworthy. I want to hear more from those people. So we really feel we need to earn the trust of potential users and customers, and to give first means we invest in videos explaining stuff, we invest in content, really like breaking down questions that arise for our target group, and build better content than that is out there. And we know it's a long funnel, and it's not a straight line. Someone sees you, they check it, and then they convert. It's like they have this issue, they have been looking there, and they go all over the place, and then suddenly they land with you. So the funnel, it's a picture, but it might not be the right picture for the bouncy ride that people might have to come to you, and then convert to your offer and your solution. So yeah, giving first enables us to be an offer that people can find when they're ready. And this can be different for everybody, for every lead, very different.
Mm-hmm. What would you say, Antoine?
Yeah, definitely aligned. One more thing I could say, maybe be present in the ecosystem. This would be like the first step, just knocking the doors of all startups that are around. I think if you have the first foot in the ecosystem, it's much more easier to crack the market. And so I would knock the door of all the SMEs that are around our office, first of all, like the very close ecosystem, and then have a larger vision, getting the startups, the hottest startups in Paris, for example, or in Berlin, and starting growing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. Especially when it comes to working with startups and freelancers and that kind of specific bubble we're in. Sometimes I totally tend to forget that. But before that, I, for example, worked as an account manager, mostly with like corporate clients. And I think there sales structures tend to be like very classical, meaning doing like cold callings, having like that number of like qualified contacts and everything, and reaching out to as much people as possible to reach some placements in a company, for example. I think it changed a lot when it comes to startups. I'm pretty sure if you contact the founder of a startup like monthly or every 2 weeks trying to sell your product, it wouldn't be the best solution. What would you say how classical sales approaches or approaches in general have changed, and what is like unique when it comes to doing sales with freelancers and startups?
That's a very good question. Do you want to go on, Tino? Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also like depending on what kind of product you talk about, you know. So I have a friend who ran a company and they did cold calling. They were selling basic listings for SEO searchable platforms, and they were calling SMEs, small businesses all over Germany. But it's kind of a call center thing, and it's nothing I've ran ever, and I'm not super keen on doing it. I think there might be merit to it, but I think these days you also see it on LinkedIn. You have a funding round, and then you get kind of spammed on LinkedIn by people offering you a remote IT support, which is it's a good, basically good value proposition. But if you get like 20 of those, you become numb. It's like this kind of ad fatigue. So again, what my philosophy and our philosophy is more that we want to think more like a media company. We want to earn the attention of people, and for that we have to put out good stuff, good content. That means tools. So we put out tools. For example, you can register your self-employment for free with our tool. You don't have to go through the horrible Elster formulas. We put out tools to tell people what can you deduct as a freelancer. We tell them if you're in an employee position, we give you a calculator to know how much will you have to make as a self-employed to get to the same net as an employee, which is hard to figure out for people. So, and this then ideally leads people to us. So it's a funnel, and we can nurture those people. We can give them something more, and at some point they will say, "Hey, those guys helped me at this point. I might want to check out their solution because I see in the chat LexOffice, for example." So there is like people think about certain things that could do the trick, do the job for them. But if I think about this, I would rather have some kind of like lead generation process where you give people something, then and you put them forward in a context. And yes, we call people, but we call people who sign up to understand why did they sign up? Did they find what they wanted to do? And it's sometimes feels like cold calling because people think, like I signed up for this app and now they call me. It's like real people, amazing. But some people are happy, some people are not so happy. It depends on what state of mind they're in. But if you do like real hard cold calling, can also be kind of rough for a certain type of people. Like, I don't know, people here in the group, they might be busy freelancers working like 2 jobs, I don't know. And then somebody calls you up, wants to sell you something. Hi, I'm the guy from Qonto. Do you want to have your bank account? I know that goes down really well. So yeah, that's my take personally.
Yeah, especially when it's like B2C business, I think. Cool. But so basically one super good advice is like what you are doing is like already trying to catch potential clients like at a super early stage, because I think it's when I get it right, like a long pipeline. If you're already like, maybe you're still fully employed thinking about, should I become a freelancer? How much money I should earn? Maybe I don't know, maybe it takes 1 year or even 2 till they then finally start their freelance business, but they're already have in their head, accountable are the ones who help me doing my calculations or anything. What are they offering? Maybe there could be a good solution. Do you have the same approach as Antoine, like trying to get the clients like super early when they're not a freelancer yet, or are you like more totally already focused on like small startups and freelancers in business?
The thing is, at Qonto, we have different sales strategies. So basically, we're working with outbound sales, and channel sales. our main focus was always inbound sales. So basically, we generated a lot of leads through growth hacking, SEO, and so on. We were not doing cold calling. No, we were contacting clients who, for example, started to register and needed help with us, who had some questions to clear. We are now launching outbound, works pretty well. Also channel sales, that works pretty well. With regards to cold calling, I mean, it's a difficult point. I mean, for me, cold calling is the real sales job at the end, because SDRs are people who are doing a very frustrating job. It's a very tough job. It's not easy. Usually there are also younger profiles, but the thing is that the ability to convince someone who has never heard about you or your company, it's unique. I mean, it's the real sales job, actually, because getting the attention of someone, getting the curiosity of someone over the phone who doesn't know you, who has never heard something about you, is really tough, and it's a real skill. In my opinion, it should be a job that should be more valued, even if I know it can be disturbing. It could be bothering if you receive calls like this. It has been my first job, actually, as a sales, doing cold calling. It's not an easy job, of course not. However, I don't think it's the thing right now. I believe that we have nowadays so many tools to generate leads and to contact them, maybe in the warmer way, if you want. So I would say warm calling, where the leads is already pretty pre-qualified and had maybe a first kind of touch point with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree on that. In general, of course, you have like both two products that it requires some more explanation. It's not like super easy to get it. Okay, it's that. It's not like a product we can touch. What would you say in general are the challenges comparing to like a super classical product when it comes to a solution, basically?
Maybe I can start on this one. I would say like the main, so basically Qonto is not a sales-driven company, first of all. So basically we have a self-service product. So basically you can open your account on your own without talking to anyone. For larger accounts, they would definitely need our help because they need a touch point with us. With those clients, I would say the biggest challenge is trust. I'm working in the German market. German prospects are usually harder to convince than others, but we're also talking about the finance industry. So basically, they're going to park their money in our accounts. So we need to win trust, and this is the biggest challenge at the moment. We say something. I mean, when one of my sales managers told me this, I thought it was pretty funny, but we usually say that Germans change partners in life, but never change their bank account, which is hopefully not true. Otherwise, Qonto wouldn't exist in Germany. And one more thing I could add is once they're really convinced and when they re-adopted your product, they're very loyal. So basically, they won't leave you. So yeah, I think trust is the main challenge. And maybe one more thing I could add is maybe client education. So basically, when you have more complex products, you expect like your client to know how to use your product, and this requires a lot of attention and a lot of teamwork between the sales and the client.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything to add, Tino, or are you totally aligned?
Yeah, I think it's trust. Definitely, it's also for us. It's a very big issue because we're talking about taxes. So we have the ELST API. We are regulated, but there's another thing as well that we're building kind of a new category. We are a tax app. So a bank account, everybody has kind of an idea what it is. And if you do a tax, you think, okay, I need to go to a tax advisor. And it's called, in Germany, it's called Steuerberater, so tax consultant. So you expect this guy to actually consult you and give you, Beratung, which doesn't really always happen because they just file your taxes. They might just you pay them to file your taxes. You might not pay them to really consult you and give you advice. Like what we try to do is we build all the tax logic into a solution that proactively gives you tax tips, that also enables you to automatically create your tax reports that you have to do from your sales invoices and your expenses. And that is something new. It's not a bookkeeping solution. It's not a bank account. It's also not, we're not a tax advisory. We're a tax app. So we also need to establish this category. And as a journey, people say, like, okay, this is cool. I start using it together with my tax advisor. And after a year, they say, hey, I actually could use this without my tax advisor. And I could save, I don't know, 2,000 euros and be more in control. Say, yeah, you can. And then they go this next step. And some people are ready to jump in right away because they are more open to this type of solution. But yeah, also, if you create something new, explaining the category was a journey. Started saying, yeah, we kind of a bookkeeping, and we a tax solution, and this evolves over time when we feel people understand what we do. So yeah, I think that's a challenge, and I know what the people in the room are working on. But what's also important to say is what we do is we talk about a product that is a very like consumerish low price point. It's 20 euros a month. If you sell to an enterprise like projects that are 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, that's a different story. It's not like self-serve. They look on your website and they say, give me your service. It's a lot more networking. I have a friend here who's doing like big enterprise sales, like big business deals. And so he looks, where are the decision makers right now, which conference, and go there, try to get in front of them, get into the conversation. And that was also the case in the past in the media business when I was doing like bigger sales. You have to talk to those people. It's a relationship building. So I think, as you said in the beginning, it really depends on the type of product that you have, the type of strategy you should deploy.
And especially what you basically both were saying now. So what do you think in general of using like referral systems and stuff? It's often when it comes to software solutions, or also we at Uplink think it's super beneficial to share, to give some like discounts or something when people are actually getting referred and they already know your product because they're basically selling them to their friends or colleagues. Is it something that's also part of your process?
It is actually. So we're offering referral programs. Basically, you get a voucher of 80 euros for each client that we bring. However, I believe that this referral system works well with Qonto, but it's working better in the B2C sector.
I think mastering referrals is it's not easy. You always hear about like the cool examples where it worked, where you have maybe network effects, or where you really like the person sending this out gets something more than maybe just money, also recognition and pride of sharing this. Some products or businesses lend themselves to a referral system more easily than others. So here, look at my tax reduction. It's not really something you share with your community. So there's nothing like ingrained in this. But what we see, what works reasonably well is packaging our solution with others that make sense. So we have a partnership and a bundle with Qonto. We also have one with N26. So people where we know it's a product that has a similar philosophy, and putting this together, that makes sense and is understandable because we solve a problem for people there. And then if there's like a commercial incentive, then it can develop some strength.
Cool. Yeah, I can totally. Mostly, especially when it comes to like end consumer products, most of them they don't recommend it because they're getting maybe 2 months off. Mostly because they're like totally convinced of the product. I think. Let's talk about maybe one other part that I think especially is super interesting when it comes to motivating salespeople and the sales team in general. Like I feel like no matter in which company friends are working, or also of our clients, everyone is actively looking for salespeople. And I feel one of the problem is comparing to other departments of company, they tend to have like a big fluctuation. Not maybe it might be not the case for you, but in general, I feel like they're eager to tend and jump between companies. But especially, I think in the startup bubble, it's not anymore. And in general, it's luckily not anymore the case that just the numbers or the salary is the thing why someone is starting at a company. So what would you say are like your key the key factors to successfully first attract more salespeople and also to keep them motivated? When we talk about, of course, like classical account managers and key account managers.
Of course. So basically, it still remains a job where you have to be money driven. We motivate our sales with bonuses and commissions. This is like the standard practice. We usually look for competitive profiles who are objective driven, money driven, as I said, but not only. For me, it's very important that they are not only focused on making bonuses and so on. Like people not have only like financial objectives. They also want to grow and learn. So basically at Qonto, what we're doing is that we're giving them ownerships on side projects to make them grow internally, to learn, and not only to focus on sales, because if you're doing sales all the time, you can get demotivated. If you have objectives who are constantly increasing and you get pressure to reach your bonuses and so on, this is not the only objective you want to reach. You also want to grow internally. And this is pretty much aligned with our internal culture at Qonto, with the Qonto way of working. So basically I would say, of course, motivation with commissions, of course, extra challenges that are out of the OKRs, but also growing internally. So I would say the skill matrix. Yeah.
Cool. So having basically like side projects from the beginning on where you can also grow into. That's super interesting, because I know at a company where I work, for example, who was like a way more traditional, was kind of the opposite. Often I feel like sales manager have to go through all that, reach a certain, I don't know, a certain title or stuff till they can start to get more response or actually doing that side project. Even all of the people who just started were super interested in having some balance to the classical sales task as well, of course.
Yeah, we are delegating from day one. So basically you have the ability to focus on some projects or being the key stakeholder for one specific topic and so on. And that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's super interesting. How are you doing that, Tino?
So at Accountable, we really have a product-led growth approach. So we don't have a sales team. We have a marketing team, and for that reason, I mean, it's interesting to hear how you guys work at Qonto, but we currently run a different approach. We've been looking at other models, but we feel for the solution we provide, our system works well working with a marketing product-led growth approach.
Cool. Maybe one last question before we go to the questions of the participants. What would you say are the challenging when entering like new markets, like for example that are not Germany? Is it kind of like a Western Europe thing that it works more or less in every country the same, or does it require a lot of adjustments and basically a new strategy?
Yeah, I think there are different levers. I would say the first one is brand awareness. When entering a new market, it's very tough. So basically, all the startups are linked together, and entering a new market, cracking this ecosystem is a big challenge, as I said. So you try to sell something that nobody knows. So nobody knows you. Maybe there are competitors, local competitors, who are already present, and this is basically a first challenge. So building this local ecosystem, finding partnerships and give customers trustables.
Mhm.
Second thing I would say is product localization. So basically you have two approaches, either you adapt or you standardize when it comes to products. So basically when we started selling bank accounts in Germany, you have to imagine we were selling so French IBANs in Germany. IBAN discrimination is real. So basically nobody wanted a French IBAN, so we had to localize the product and launch local IBANs. Just another example was the checks. The checks in France were something very popular. We didn't include this in the product, but we had to do it to penetrate the French market. So basically, you also have to localize your product. One last thing I would say, so last but not least, is employment branding. So basically sourcing talents. As you said earlier, Nick, it's pretty tough to find sales on the market nowadays, and especially in the German market. You also have discrepancies between salary levels, also about benefits and so on. And this is pretty tough. When you're new on the market, hiring talented sales profiles can be very complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tino, I think you already said you don't have a classical sales team, so.
Yeah, I mean, going to a new market, I've once heard that every new market is like starting a new company, and it is a little bit like this, you really start from zero, because at Accountable, what happens? Of course, we have to localize. So VAT is a European thing, but then taxes, it's a national thing still, So income tax that we also do has to work on the national level, but it's still like the easy part, because we know what we have to build, and then we build it, and we know we can pull it off. But the go-to-market, like building this brand, building this traction, that's really the hardest part, because there's so many things you still have to figure out, and you have some hypotheses and you do some research, but then you find out stuff is different than you expected. So I think it's really like, yeah, by far the hardest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So maybe one last thing when it comes to best and worst practices, you already pointed out what works pretty well for you. Do you have like maybe 3 top worst practice where you tried something and it didn't work out for the German market or in general at all? That's basically super interesting for the people to hear.
Well, yeah, I can just say like two examples that was also like great learning for me. So pricing is actually it's interesting. We've been since we started, we started with a very simple solution, and now we do like taxes from income tax to trade tax to VAT, everything that is there for a freelancer, and accordingly, as the product improved, we increased our pricing. And as a startup, or as a founder, I think everybody who sells you're always nervous about increasing prices. How will customers take it? Do they see the value? Will conversions go down? People don't buy anymore. They want it cheap, all those things. And we had this approach of always grandfathering users. So if you, up to a certain cutoff point, you kept your old price, and then the price goes up. And that actually went really well with our users, and it also led to quite a lot of upgrades, because people saw, okay, that's actually, it's the best promotion you can run. You say, hey, the product is better now. We're going to increase prices, but if you upgrade before this date, you're going to keep it forever at the old price. And that really, and after that, after we increased prices, we didn't see drops in conversions, and we saw like a lot of people who actually took advantage of this promotion, which was, it's not something you wait out, like it's kind of common 3 months to get another promotion, this is once a lifetime thing. So that worked really well. And another thing I've seen is, as a SaaS, you have your pricing, like free, medium, expensive, like standard pricing. But like we tinkered around with pay as you go, like giving people like the option to add like a consultation when they register their freelance activity, talk to an expert about this before sending it off to the tax office. And we saw people taking this up quite a bit. So if at the right point, not offering a subscription but a pay-as-you-go option, there was also learning that there's some benefit to it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That's super interesting. I feel like that's in general what is kind of like the modern approach to it. I feel like with many solution, even if it's like B2B we're using, it's often that it feels like when you can make your own package, and even if the package in the end might be a bit more pricey, it feels more like you're paying exactly what you need, and you're not paying extra for the things you might not use all that features. Cool. So when it comes to the questions of our community, basically the participants, you can feel free to ask also more questions. We already have one. It's from Jay. He's asking from a point. He's a software. Basically, he runs a software consulting and development startup, and would like to know if there's any good approach or general strategy for a software consulting company. I hear more about product startup, sales, marketing. I would also like to know similar ideas for in the field of IT consulting.
To be honest, it's not a sector I know a lot. Maybe Tino can help better here when it comes to consulting. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so I see what you mean, because it's not productized. It's a service business, and this really lives and dies with the relationship you have to the company. So every company has some kind of need, and then there's a reason why would you talk to this person. And in my experience, and I've been working with a couple of IT consultancy companies in different setups and also agencies. It's really about the intro, the connection. Is this person recommended to someone? So what helps? It helps if you may be part of a community like Factory Berlin, where people are vetted. There's some trust that people who are in this community they are good at what they do, or somebody else recommends it. Then I think also if you have the right LinkedIn profile and connect to the right people in the network. So you give a lot of below the line signals to the decision maker that this is actually, it's different than just another consultant. And from what I see with people who work in consultancy, most attractive jobs then really come through networks of freelancers, where, say, an ex-Rocket CFO puts together a posse of consultants, and they work in trusted relationships with people they've been working in the past. Another thing, but that's only something I haven't tried myself, but what I've heard from friends working in this space, that also networks like Comatch can help, or Uplink. I think where you really find those contacts. So it's the agency business, really very fast. I mean, it's an old adage, but it's really a people's business where you need to find a personal contact. I find it hard to imagine that running ads or performance campaigns, you can really land an interesting consultancy gig. That's just my take.
Maybe a tip I could add, Nick. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Maybe when it comes to the sales approach, maybe try to something different. So basically, online sales are not always the best idea. Starting offline can also be a solution. It's something that we forget. The sales approach changed over the years. So basically, we're now much more digitalized, but offline sales still works very good. So this would be a tip. And when it comes to online, as Tino said, as a founder or as a decision maker, you're receiving so many emails or LinkedIn's emails from salespersons and so on, and you have to be original. So basically, if your message just sounds like a basic prospectus or magazine that you can receive at your place, you will not open it. if you receive a letter, which is much more interesting, much more intriguing, you're more likely to open the letter than the magazine, actually. So this is also the thing, I would say, personalize as much as you can, and try to be different.
Absolutely. What I experience a lot when talking to our clients and giving like offers completely to like agency or software consultancies, where they basically don't have one specific freelancer or contact person anymore. It's exactly about that, what Tino said, like building the trust. So mostly when freelancers of our network I'm talking to started to build like a successful agency, they often already worked, for example, with the clients as a freelancer and kind of proved like, oh, okay, it worked really well. And then now they're trying to sell a whole team or getting maybe the whole development of a software solution, because they kind of know how it's working. Often from the client side of things, I hear they're like skeptical in the beginning, but then once you have like the food there and in the door and everything is working, they're totally eager to also hire agencies and give like a whole offer or project bid, whatever, to an agency. But it's a lot about being present, being there, and talking to the people. I think I can totally agree to that.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you have happy clients. So, I mean, I don't know how many times I get asked, do you know a good guy to do this or that, from fellow entrepreneurs, from other people. And if I worked well with someone, I'm really happy to recommend them, because this also falls back on me. Like I'm a person who can recommend other people who do a good job. So like starting somewhere, having a happy client, this can go a long way to refer to other people. And it's like the first client can be like a bridge into a certain community. You can also think, do I have a certain skill that works really well, or do I have a certain business understanding for a certain type of business? And then you get into this business, and then those people, there will be network effects, because the fintech SaaS people talk to each other, So and then media people, that talk to each other. So if you have a strategy and an idea where you want to be, that could also give you an entry. Who should I talk to in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe one more thing I often also see is like, be specific about your services. I feel often, especially consultancies, especially in software development, because they have a broad network, which is amazing, and many freelancers in their back. So basically they could theoretically do everything, but on the client side of things, when they see a website, basically like a full service agency, we can do from cloud to backend, mobile, front end, really like everything. It's more like, oh, but are they really the specialist in that field? So sometimes it makes more sense to be like super specific of what you're doing and pointing out, especially the services you're super good in, and then starting to attract more clients in different fields, especially in the beginning. Cool. So I think we don't have any more questions from the community. Maybe one last thing I can say: we as Uplink are partnering with Qonto as well as with Accountable. So if you want to check Uplink out and you're part of us in the member area, you can get both solutions up to 6 months for free, and the specific codes will be shared there. Thank you so much for being here, Antoine and Tino. It was really nice to talk to you, and very cool insights. And I wish you a great afternoon.
Thanks, guys. It was nice to be here. And don't forget, income tax is coming up. So if you guys have some questions, we run a webinar. You can always ping me on LinkedIn or wherever, and I'll send you the link to get some Q&A with a tax advisor. Happy to help. So as I said, always give first, and have a great week.
You too.
Thanks, Nick. Guys, if you also want to reach out over LinkedIn, my pleasure.
Yeah, sure. Let's all share it there.
About Qonto, shoot. We can also give some vouchers for you guys to test the product.
Mm-hmm.